putting people in my cars and driving them around and open houses and all that shit. I didn't want to do listings. And so I had my license to own real estate. I wanted to be a real estate expert. I never wanted to be an agent. I think agents should always strive to becoming an expert, right? Because when you're an expert, you could do all kinds of deals. Because if you just show up and say, hey, I can list your house, like you're going to get told no all the fucking time. But if you show up and say, I can make you a cash offer, I can list your house, we can do a creative terms deal, and I can pay you more than what you're asking for. I needed to be the person that's in all the meetings, and this is where we're going, and this is how we're going to get there. And it's not the truth. The truth is your job as an entrepreneur is to do exactly what you said. Master the power and art of leverage. Because when you can leverage other people's time, money, skills, resources, connections, all that stuff, you can put way better people, way more qualified, way smarter, with better answers than you in the right seat of the bus.
Like as it relates to why are prices going up?
Yeah, why is real estate not crashed into the floor? The economy sucks. Inflation's high. People have no money at the end of the month. Why hasn't real estate like completely imploded?
Like meaning crash. I'd say it's low inventory and the fact that there's so much money in circulation with all the money that they printed out. It's got to go somewhere. And I would say that people don't trust the banks as much, so they don't trust stock market, so it's going back into the residential real estate market or even the commercial real estate market. Where do you see opportunity right now? Where do you see opportunity? Like, what do you see for real estate for the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, Jose, you nailed it. There's no inventory, right? There's no inventory. So that's what's propping this whole thing up. And we're lucky that there's no inventory. Otherwise, how many agents have gone out of business in the last 4, 5, 6 months? A ton. Yeah. Investors too, wholesalers too. This is the great cleansing. And I'm happy that it's happening. Whenever, what is that old Warren Buffett quote? When the tide goes out, you see who's not wearing pants or whatever. Yeah. Everybody was riding high on low interest rate, cheap money, flooded into the economy. Everybody had extra cash, and that shit's gone. Those days are gone. Credit card debt's at an all-time high. Student loan debt's at an all-time high. People are out of runway, and they're just holding on. They're praying that they don't get a flat tire because they don't have any extra money. So where I see the opportunity is, number one, creative finance. You gotta learn creative finance. And if you don't know, do it now. Start spending the next 6 months increasing those skills. I have a great course called the Free House Formula. I think if you go to freehouseformula.com, it's a creative finance course. And it just teaches you, how does a subject to transaction work? How do you take over a mortgage? How do you bail somebody out of foreclosure and then take over their mortgage? How do you work with distressed sellers and wrap their mortgages? You know, what's the difference between a wrap and a sub two? If you meet somebody who owns free and clear real estate, how do you structure that deal properly? How do you adjust all the other terms? How do you understand the tax benefits of this whole thing? Do you get the tax benefits, or does the old seller get the tax benefits? How does it all work? How do you fill out the paperwork? How do you not get into legal trouble? How do you present it to your broker? Right? Because every broker is going to be like, that seems a little creative to me. I don't know if we want you doing that. But that's because they're all fucking idiots. And it's the brokers should be the one going, guys, we're going to learn creative finance, all of us here. We're not going out of business. Every single one of us is going to survive this downturn. In fact, this will be the biggest next 12 months of money-making opportunity in our lives. We're going to get new skills. We're going to be nimble. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to play offense. We're going to go out there and help homeowners that are struggling right now. Because, look, it's all about motivation. How many people will sell their property if they get the right price or above their price? A lot more than people if you show up and go, will you take a $100,000 discount? Right? So I know I want to get more yeses. I want to get told yes, way more. Well, in order to do that, you got to solve better problems. And that's where creative finance comes in. So 53% of every mortgage in the United States was originated between 2020 and 2022. And they're all 2, 3, and 4% mortgages. So that's a gold rush. How do you contact those sellers using artificial intelligence, get a hold of them, and find out if they're willing to sell based on this algorithm saying these people are motivated? And that's what I'm doing right now. That's what we're heavily focused on, is how do I buy real estate creatively with bypassing the banks and getting the seller to participate? 2, massive amounts of people in the multifamily space got into speculative multifamily with bad debt, with no runway. There's going to be a ton of multifamily foreclosures and people dumping multifamily over the next 18 months. 60 units, 80 units, 200 units, 400 units. A lot of people, I even happen to be one of them. I bought a $17 million 81 unit apartment building by Arizona State. We were supposed to renovate 20 of the units, raise the rents, get the cap rates up, and flip it. It was supposed to be like a 18-month flip. We're now 2.5 years in. I have 6 more months on my bridge financing before the thing needs to be refinanced. Well, unfortunately, the value of the property has come down. The rents have come down a little bit. And so now we're sitting on something, and we have like 15 investors involved in this deal. I wasn't the lead on the deal. I wasn't the main sponsor, but we put a lot of money into the deal. And they came back around and said, Cody, this is the situation we're in. For us to refinance, we have to bring a few million bucks to the table. So we're going to do a capital call, or we're going to sell the investment. We're going to sell the project at a discount and just dump it. And everybody's going to lose all of their investment. Which one would we rather do? Capital call and chase bad money with good money and wait 5 or 10 years, hopefully for it to come back? Or do you just take your loss and move on? There will be thousands and thousands of these projects hitting the market over the next 18 months that have to sell. Also, a lot of funds that buy multifamily real estate, people don't understand this. In the fund, it says we can hold this for 5 years. At the 5-year plus 1 day mark, we have to sell. We cannot refi, we cannot keep it, no matter how good the asset is. So the project that we're buying in Arcadia right now, that's 432 units that I'm raising money for, that's what's happening. My partner, who's the lead on the deal, she had already done 2 deals with this particular fund. The fund called her up and said, hey, we have a 432 unit in one of the best areas in Arizona. It is 99% occupied. It is a Class B institutional grade asset. Here's the price we want. We will not shop it to anybody else, but you got to give us a decision quickly. We have to sell. We cannot refi. We cannot keep it. And we will even allow you to step in and take over for the next 10 years our 2.97% blended average interest rate. You couldn't get a under 3% interest rate on a $100-something million asset if you tried right now. Mm-hmm. So it's a very sexy deal. They do not want to sell it. It is cash flowing by hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars per month.
So but why are they going to sell it?
Why do they have to? Because the fund rules say they have to sell at this date and liquidate and give everybody their money back, regardless if the asset's great or not. This happens all the time in real estate. And so until you start playing in that game and start going to I'm just elevating my thought. It's like single family's cool, but that's nothing. That's a small game. When you start playing in the big boy leagues, you're going to these boring ass conferences where it's like all these family offices and they all wear suits. They all look like you. They're all dapper danned out. And like here I come in my t-shirt and flip flops and I'm like, I want to buy multifamily. And then you realize very quickly, it's a good old boys network. I got to start all over again. I got to go put on my stupid suit and play the game in order to break into the good old boys club. But it's worth it because that one asset will produce over $250,000 a month in pure cash flow. I won't pay taxes for the next 5 years because of it. And I have an asset manager and a property manager that will deal with it all. When you're at scale, you don't when you buy a single family or you buy an Airbnb or you buy very small multifamily, who's babysitting it? Me.
You are, because it doesn't have enough. It doesn't produce enough cash flow to be able to hire somebody.
Yeah, it's like nothing makes sense if you have to hire pros. And if you do hire somebody, it's who you can afford. So you get these whack, lame property managers that talk a big game and just piss you off all the time and piss the tenants off all the time. And so what I learned very quickly after doing a couple smaller multifamily deals and screwing that up, going, fuck this, I got to scale. Like, I got to go fast. And that's where strategic partnerships come in. This is where building my brand comes back in. People know, like, and trust me because I've been putting out so much content on social since the day it came out that they just are like, oh, I know Sperber. I'll take his call. I'll sit down with them. I'll break bread with them. And, when I show up and I go, listen, I'd like to get involved. I want to do my first fund to fund. I'm going to set a fund up. I'm going to raise something simple, $2 million. And I'm going to bring capital to the table to invest in this multifamily project. I want to learn the biz. And then you do that 2 or 3 times and you do fund to funds. And then eventually you're like, okay, I think I'm ready to do a full syndication. Next time you find a good deal, bring me in, or vice versa. I'll go find a good deal and bring you in. But what you learn in multifamily is nobody's going to talk, no bank's going to lend you money. You have to have a sponsor. Even me, who's made tens of millions of dollars per year flipping and investing in multifamily, for the last 20 years, no bank gives a fuck. If I have never done a multifamily deal before, they're not lending to me. No matter how much, I'd have to put down 90%, 80% for them to even consider talking to me. But if I show up with you and Jose, you've already done $500 million worth of multifamily transactions, you're a proven operator and you have a great team and you've already borrowed money from these banks, and I show up with you and we co-do a deal together, you're my sponsor, they underwrite me after underwriting you, and now you vouch for me. From that day forward, after that deal, I could roll up to the bank and get a loan from forever from that point forward, unless I fuck up the deal. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I need that sponsorship. No different than me leveraging Lyle all the way back when I first started. Lyle, teach me real estate. Show me how to do this. Introduce me to your contacts. I got to do that in the multifamily game all over again.
What was Lyle's incentive back then to help you?
Lyle was sitting at lunch, and I fell in love with him within 20 minutes. I said, dude, you are the coolest old man I've ever seen. He was in his 60s. He looked like Yoda. He was just a weird dude, told great stories, and he talked about everything that I've ever wanted to do. He did all his deals inside his self-directed Roth, all tax-free. He was brilliant at creative finance. He was a true transactional engineer. And by the end of lunch, I looked at him and I said, Lyle, you ever get that feeling in your stomach that you were meant to be here? I meant to meet you. You are my mentor. You don't know it yet, but you are my mentor. Like, I will do anything to have you mentor me. And he laughed and said, Cody, you don't want me mentoring you. I said, Lyle, I'll do anything. Like, I failed miserably. I tried everything. I'm done doing it. I'm surrendering. Like, I need help. He goes, Cody, you don't mean those words. And I said, Lyle, don't fucking challenge me. Like, I will do anything to have you as my mentor. And he goes, you mean that? And I said, I mean that. He goes, you fucking mean that? And I said, I mean that, dude. I mean it. And he goes, we'll see. He goes, I don't think you have it in you, but we'll see. How about this? Tomorrow morning, he goes, I got 3 rules for me to mentor you. Tomorrow morning, you're going to show up with $10,000 in $5 bills, and you're going to hand it to me.
How much?
I had no money, dude. I had no money. First off, I'm at a conference in another state. How the hell am I going to come up with $10,000 in $5 bills in 24 hours? Like, I'm like, what? And he goes, that's rule number 1. Rule number 2 is, you like baseball? And I said, I guess. I played Pop Warner, I played baseball growing up. And he goes, oh, okay. Well, I love baseball. And with me, you have 3 strikes, just like baseball. You talk back in any way, I give you a strike. By your 3rd strike, if you don't do what I say or talk back, you piss me off, I fire you on the spot and I keep your money and don't ever call me again. I'm like, Jesus, like, that's heavy. Like, okay. And I already know my personality. I'm getting strikes. So I'm like, oh, shit. Okay. And I'm like, well, how bad can this be? What's the 3rd one? And he goes, simple. On your first big deal, you keep 100% of whatever you make. Any deal after that, I get to decide if I help you in any way, if you leverage me in any way, if you even say one sentence about the deal to me, I decide what I make and what you keep. And I said, for how many deals? He said, until we're done working together, for every deal. I was like, fuck, okay. All right, I'm in. Because I didn't have anything to lose. I had no money. I had never done a deal. Everything's been a shit show up to that point. I'm totally depressed. I hate being a bookkeeper. Like, I'm so mad at myself for quitting. And I was like, let's do this. And sure as shit, I showed up with the money the next day and I gave it to Lyle. And the lesson in that is, you think you can't. It sounds absurd. But if you take a drug addict and you drop them in the middle of any town that they've never been to, in anywhere in the world or anywhere in America, within a couple hours, they're finding drugs. They're finding the means and the resources to get their fix. Because the motivation is so fucking high. Their pain is so high that they cannot think, or they're so obsessed over it that they're willing to steal, rob, break laws, do whatever. But most people don't walk around with that kind of obsessive energy. And so when I was challenged, I just said, fuck it, I'm going to figure this out. And I did. I was able to get the money. And it cost a lot more than people think. And we got to work. And within 3 weeks, I had 2 strikes. Like, it did not take me very long to, like, piss Lyle off. And you get to that last, like, edge where you're like, fuck, if I piss him off one more time, like, I'm fired. And I knew he would fire me. That I never crossed that line again. And me and Lyle did hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of transactions together. I ended up paying him well over $1 million to coach me in deal flow.
Worth every penny, though. It's funny, Cody, because for me, it took me 6 months. I had a mentor come up to me at the 0 month. I said, I don't need a mentor. I've got it all figured out. At the 6 month mark, I had closed 0 deals. And he's like, look, I'll charge you 50% of your deals. I took it. Next 6 months, I did 9 deals after that. So it was one of the best decisions to find a mentor. What I did want to ask you is, like, so when interest rates went up tremendously, like, what adjustments did you make in your business, if any at all?
Yeah, a ton. We saw it coming because I was around for the 2008 crash, and I knew what happened when the economy pulled back. And so we had been prepping for a while, but we aggressively started pre-selling all of our deals, trying to lock in buyers even before houses were built, even if they were in, like, dirt phase. So that was the first thing. Builders go boom in good times and bust in bad times real fast. So it's very risky to be a builder. Right now I got about $40 million worth of houses going up, and it's scary. I'm not going to lie. But I was able to survive and be okay because 90% of them got pre-sold. So I was able to lock in my profits and my buyers at decent interest rates. That's number one. Number two is I leaned in heavy on the unfair advantage of artificial intelligence. So we were able to get to better deals faster before our competition using unfair technology. That's why I invested so heavily into it 2 years ago, because I knew there'd be a day that I needed that competitive advantage. We slimmed down all expenses and started playing offense, and we just tightened up the ship, let go of anybody that wasn't pulling their weight, shut off all subscription services that weren't good subscriptions, just got lean and mean. Lots of culture and talking to my team about this is what it's going to feel like when we are no longer going up, but we're flattening out or going down. It's a mental shit show for a lot of people when they're not making as much money as they were, and they're not feeling progress, and they're starting to go backwards, and they're hearing about their friends going out of business, and especially in the real estate space, how many agents do we know that are now doing solar? They're making more money in solar than they were in real estate because real estate was tough. And that's what I meant by the great cleansing. Like, this is a good thing, actually, because those of us that stay the course and tighten up our shit are going to make a fortune over the next 3 years.
I agree.
So I went out and I was always really aggressive. Every year I spend a couple months going around to banks getting lines of credits. I'm very aggressive with prepping income for when I need it. So we had a few $1 million in lines of credits that I was like slowly building up. And every year I would go back and ask for an increase and ask for an increase and just be aggressive with that. Not people don't understand how important that is, especially when private lenders and all that stuff start heading for the hills. I also started prepping my private lenders. And I went to all of them and said, guys, your money is tied up in real estate. Do not fucking call me because you read a headline in a newspaper that shit's going backwards and ask me for your money back. Like, your money is tied up in these projects. Go to the project. We're building beautiful houses. We're pre-selling. Like, your money is safe. It's secured by the real estate. I'm not sitting around fucking it off buying Lambos and like living lifestyle. Like, all the money is in real estate. But if you psychologically mindfuck me and my team because you call every single day asking where's your money and how's your money, like, you're going to freak everybody out. Like, stay the course. We're going to do well. We're going to make money. We're being aggressive. We're playing offense. We got this. And so this is all just stuff I learned from 2008 when I was going through this for the first time and I didn't know how emotionally of a roller coaster it all was. And now I'm like more hardened. So I'm like, okay, I know what's going to happen. So let's just get out in front of it and just start, like I said, play so much offense that you're offensive to everybody around you.
What I was going to ask you is, what would you say? How does this compare to the 2008 crash for you?
The feelings are the same, meaning people are scared and real estate's tough and all that stuff, but totally different. We don't have the real estate's going to crash because the currency's crashing, right? Like, it's not, because of supply and demand and we have such low inventory. The only reason people aren't buying right now is because it costs too much to buy a house. So they're just sitting tight and renting or waiting. Nobody's selling because they don't want to trade a 2.95% mortgage for an 8% mortgage. But once interest rates come down to low fives or high fours, it's going to explode again, like, because there's pent up demand for real estate. There's just very little inventory.
When do you think that'll be when interest rates come down? Or do you think that they'll ever come down? Because I've heard a mixture of things. Yeah.
No, they'll come down. They'll come down. But it won't be permanent. It won't be permanent. I mean, dude, there's so many variables. Mortgages are tied to the 10-year treasury yield. So right now they're compressing inflation by killing the economy. And they've been doing that, and they're going to do it for 2 more Fed meetings. So we know probably the Fed funds rate is going to go up for at least 2 more meetings. I think the Fed meets 8 times per year, and every time they meet, they're raising it by 25 or 50 basis points. And so it'll go up, right? The Fed hasn't pulled the levers this aggressively since 1994. And so if you understand how the economy works, it's either an expansion or contraction. And in order to contract the economy, they got to pull money out of it. And they do that by doing 2 things. They pull the Fed funds rate lever, which is the cost of interbank lending, or they buy or sell treasuries. And they pull money out of the ecosystem or flood the economy with money. And right now, they're trying to pull money out of the ecosystem by selling treasuries. But the problem is the treasuries aren't producing good returns, so nobody wants to go into them. So it's been very slow, and it's taking a really long time for them to get traction. But very slowly they are getting traction. And if you look at how they calculate inflation, a large part of the bucket of goods that they calculate inflation with is in the construction industry. It's the cost of the materials to build houses. And so if you're Jerome Powell and you want to keep your job and you want to look good, you're going to look at that bucket of goods and you're going to go, guys, what do we got to do to bring down inflation? Well, we got to slow down housing, because that is 40% of the calculation of this bucket of goods. So we got to kind of pump the brakes on housing. And we do that by raising interest rates.
Yeah.
And so I think it'll come down. It's very hard to predict. A lot of people think it's going to happen towards the end of summer. I don't know. But what I do know is I'm not dependent on it. I have taught myself creative finance for a reason. We're good whether interest rates come down or not. It's just a different business model. It's not building $3 million spec houses any longer and trying to sell them to rich people. It's building, affordable housing, because that's what we're missing right now. And if I'm a builder and I need to build anything, I need to go build affordable housing. Cheap apartment buildings or cheap houses that people can afford, and even if it's at a 6% interest rate or 7% interest rate, you got to play the game or not build. I don't recommend, if you're new, I would not recommend rehabbing right now unless you're able to go in and out within like 90 days or less, 60 days or less. Like, you got to be like lipstick on a pig, buy at a really good discount, maybe have your real estate license. That way you can list and sell your own properties and you save on commissions. You gotta be really smart with how you spend your money. You can't be overbuilding and over rehabbing and like trying to impress people. It's like, just do bare minimum, get in and out, make a few bucks. The real play, wholesaling is still going on, but you got to find those rehabbers that are pros. A lot of people are just buying and holding using creative finance right now. And like I said, if you were new and you had to spend the next 90 days increasing a skill, I'd either focus on creative finance skills or I'd focus on how do I get into the multifamily game when all these thousands and thousands of deals come into the marketplace because they have to sell because they were in bad bridge debt. How can I get into that world? Those are the two skills that will pay you the most over the next 36 months.
Is it possible to get some of these deals before they even come on the market? And if so, like, how?
Yeah, of course. Like, so think about it.
For
like
the multifamily specifically.
Yeah, if you're like, so maybe you start with the smaller deals, 20 units, 30 units, 80 units, and less. These are more smaller mom and pop operators that maybe own the asset for 30 years. And you can tell like that they didn't do a great job because they're not like renovating the units. They like, if something breaks, they fix the one thing one at a time. Like sometimes I show up to a project in like, there's like 4 buildings, right? And one has a new roof and 3 don't. And you're like, oh, this is a small guy that just does the bare minimum. Like when the shit hits the fan, like he waits to the very last second to like fix something. That's the perfect deal to walk into because people don't realize that person might have owned that for 30 years. He might even own it free and clear. And if I show up and say, hey, dude, you're 70 years old now. What's your plan? I don't know. But everybody that shows up is trying to buy this thing at a discount because it's all beat up, and I'm not selling at a discount. Don't. I'll pay you more. What do you want for your property? I want $5 million. Okay, I'll pay you $5.2 million. What? Okay, but here's the catch. I can't pay you all at once. I got to pay you over time. Right? It doesn't make any sense for me to go to a bank right now because interest rates are horrible. I wouldn't make any money on this. And that's why everybody keeps offering you a discounted price. But I'll pay you exactly what you want. Just you be my bank. Well, how do you want to do it? I want to put no money down. I want to just step in. I'll make some repairs on the property. I'll do what I need to do, and I'll send you a check every single month, and you don't have to deal with tenants and toilets. Well, you got to have some skin in the game. Okay, well, how about this? My plan is to renovate 10 of the units. Each unit I was going to put 15 grand in. So what if I put 150 grand or some amount of money into escrow, and that money has to be used to renovate the building. And I will renovate all 10 units within the first couple months. Can I use that as my down payment? Because after I renovate all 10 units and I'm forced to use this money to increase the value of the buildings, if I stop paying you, you just take the buildings back and now you have 10 renovated units. It's a win-win for you. Okay, I'll do that deal. Now, did I just put money down to buy the building, or did I just increase my own asset value?
You increase your asset value, basically.
Yeah. It's just two ways to look at the same thing. Your fear is that I don't have skin in the game. My pain is I don't want to just give you money for no fucking reason. But I'll put money in escrow and renovate the building that I own.
Because I'm going to do that anyways.
I'm going to do that anyway. But it solves your problem of like, is this guy for real? And what if I don't have 150 grand? I'm going to go out to the marketplace and say, hey, financial friends, family members, people I know from my brand. I need 150 grand. Who wants to jump in and lend me money as a private lender, AKA financial friend? I need 150 grand. I'll pay you back this amount. I'll give you 10% on your money. I need it for 3 years. And I'll pay you 10% for 3 years. And then I use the cash flow from the building to pay the person back. Or I say, hey, I got this deal. I'll bring you in and make you a small equity partner if you give me the 150 grand. So I'm using other people. I'm leveraging everything, right? I'm finding the deal, leveraging maybe a real estate agent. Real estate agent, Cody, I want to bring you this deal, but the seller is stuck on price. Great. I'll pay you your full commission for bringing me the deal. Great. Now agent's winning. Seller wins because I overpay for the property on terms. My private lender wins because I put their money to work in a great asset that cash flows and make them an equity partner. Now they get tax benefits and their money's earning a solid return. And I weaseled my way into a 60, 80 unit apartment deal with no money in the deal, just creatively. And here's what you'll discover when you're around guys like me, that in real estate, you'll never have a money problem. You only have a creativity problem. And until you take the time to increase your skills and capabilities, and you start mastering the art of influence, like the whole game is people. This is why new car salesmen do so well, because they don't have like bad habits yet. They just roll up and try to build rapport with somebody. They don't even know any details about the fucking car. They just build rapport with somebody and they're like, I don't know how I sold 25 cars my first month in the job. And then in month 2, they try to get slick, right? And they try to memorize all the details of the car. This is what agents do. They try to roll in and like tell them every fucking thing about the house instead of just like focusing on the person. It's like, yeah, you need to know your product, but at the same time, you really need to know your people. Mm-hmm. And that's the whole game. And especially in the mom and pop space, once you get into big assets, it's all asset managers and attorneys and gets more complicated. But until then, you can play the game. There's no reason you can't go into all the Sunbelt states and find deals. There's no reason every person listening to this, me and you, cannot do a deal in the next 90 days. Jose, why haven't we done a deal yet? Can you imagine if we started off this podcast? Like I met this dude, Cody. He's kind of crazy. He's on social. He's like weird and loud. And I don't know if I like him or don't like him, but I brought him a fucking deal. It was this little, 67 unit apartment deal. Every investor in town tried to buy it. Nobody was able to get it. It's been kind of a pain in the ass, but I brought Cody in. He overpaid for the property. He did this creative terms deal. He even brought me in as a 10% equity owner, plus he paid me $10,000 for finding the deal. It was a huge win for me. I want to introduce you to this real creative guy, Cody Sperber, the Clever Investor. What a great story.
I was going to ask you, people like on YouTube search up like Cody Sperber, do deals with me. Like, is this
So look, dude, as an educator, I'm always pushing the envelope. I could sell you a course, and for a long time I did. Like I said, I sold over $100 million worth of online education. I taught myself direct response, copywriting, building funnels, pitching on video, live events, the whole thing. At some point, it's like, I wish I could just give all this shit away for free. Like in my heart of hearts, like I don't want to sell you anything. I have to sell you something because I got 50 team members that need to be paid for. I got to support my students. I got to throw events and do experiences and it's expensive to run a real legit operation. that supports their students and helps students become successful. But in my heart, I wish I could give it all away for free. So the best way for me to not sell you a course is to train you how to be a deal partner. Because now you can earn and learn at the same time. So when I'm sitting around thinking, like, what do I want to do in 2022 or 2021? Well, fuck selling courses. Let's create deal partners. Let's create 1,000 deal partners all over the country that I could do deals with. An army of bird dogs. Guys just like you, everybody listening to this. I will train you to help me make you rich.
Find deals. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do deals together and earn and learn. And that's a much better story than buy my course. So I created a product called Do Deals With Me because that's what I want to do. I want to do deals with you. And now my focus is AI real estate. And that's why I launched the AIrealestatesystem.com. It's still a deal partnership program, though. I'm just giving you the tool to help you go find the deals, which is the AI software. That data, that is very expensive. It cost me millions of dollars to buy all the data and do all the programming. We got over 20,000 users using the software. It's very expensive.
Got it. Any final words, Cody, like that you think would be helpful for viewers, or anything else that we could help people out with? And then if people wanted to get in contact with you, like let's say somebody wanted to do a deal with you, somebody wanted to learn about the free house formula, like what's the best way for people to connect with you?
Yeah. Clevercapitalfund.com is if you want to put any of your lazy money to work in any of my commercial projects, my multifamily projects. We got land where we just bought. We're going through the entitlement process. I'm going to build a hotel, a McDonald's, a Starbucks, and a gas station all on one parcel. I got the big multifamily project that we talked about on here. When's this coming out?
I'd probably say 4 weeks. I could probably get it out sooner. If you
you might have missed that one because I got to fund it within 4 weeks. So you're out on that one. But in future ones, go to clevercapitalfund.com, at Clever Investor on all social platforms. And just say hi. Like, follow me on social. I'm pretty active. Say hi in my DMs, and chances are I'm going to respond back and say what's up, and let's build a relationship. And I would love to do deals with you guys. Final piece of advice is this. And this has nothing, we talked a lot about money and real estate and strategy and tactics and AI and hedge funds. And I did my soapbox rant about how fucked the economy is because of our poor leadership. Those are my opinions, man. You might not vibe with any of that. But we all feel that something not good is happening, regardless of your beliefs. And for me, the best thing that I ever did has nothing to do with money. I used to think that I was proud of my achievements. I've done a lot and been at a lot of levels. What I realized is the thing that got me going is also the thing that held me back. And what I mean by that is a lot of us entrepreneurs are willing to push the envelope, and we're willing to march to our own drum beat, regardless of haters and naysayers and negativity and stuff. We have this like drive inside of us, this obsession inside of us. It comes from somewhere. We don't need somebody to pull us up a mountain. We're self-motivated and headstrong and all those things. Normally, that comes from pain. You don't know it a lot of the times, but we hide our pain in achievement. I know I did for many years, and subconsciously I was doing it, but I didn't realize I was doing it until last year. Last year, my mom passed away from cancer in my arms, and I went through a divorce. And when you kind of hit rock bottom like that, and you're out of alignment with your words, you're out of alignment with your actions, and you can't put your finger on like why are things out of control? Why are things so bad in my life? Why can't I get to the next level? Why am I struggling? Well, that's because I put all my effort into one pillar, the financial pillar, the make money pillar, the dominate pillar, the achievement pillar. And we do that a lot without even realizing that that's self-sabotaging us for the bigger game of life. 1 in 10 Americans are considered millionaires. 1 in 25,000 Americans have a six-pack. Why are there more millionaires than healthy people? If we did a survey on how many people truly feel joy, happiness, and unconditional love, not many. That's because we've never slowed down long enough to go deep and actually deal with our subconscious programming and our pain. It took me losing a lot for a dumbass like me to slow down long enough to go get the therapy, go get the help, go do the inner work, go do the breath work. Sometimes it takes somebody going to jail and they're forced to sit in a cell. Sometimes it's a medical problem. They're forced to be in the hospital and lose everything. Sometimes it's a death. Sometimes it's a loss of a marriage. But when you go through that and you actually put in the real work and you get back in alignment and you realize I can dominate my health game. I can dominate spiritually. I can dominate with my kids. I can dominate financially. I don't have to give up everything else to do well in this one area of my life. And you become in alignment with your purpose, everything changes for you. I'm happier than I've ever been because as a man, I went and I put in that work. And I want to encourage everybody listening to this. You'll never get to the next level until you go backwards and go deeper. And you won't ever realize what's holding you back until you do. And I really want to encourage you, go get EMDR therapy. Go talk to professionals. I had never done like addiction treatment because I never would have considered myself addicted to anything, but I was addicted to achievement. And when your intimacy circles are out of whack, and I even built this thing called a trauma egg. I never realized what a pro I was at compartmentalizing and bearing pain. And I was so fucking good at it that as an entrepreneur, it served me. I'd be in this like pressure cooker all the time, and I was able to survive it where most people would buckle. But then I would wonder why I would like lose my mind if somebody cut me off in traffic. Like I could be having the greatest day, and somebody cuts me off, and I just go from 0 to psychopath. And it's this subconscious programming of this pain that comes out. And you don't realize what the triggers are. You don't realize why can't I connect with my kids? It's because the things you dislike the most in them are the things you dislike most in you. And for me, my marriage fell apart, and I was struggling in a lot of relationships because I didn't have a lot of empathy, and I couldn't figure out why I couldn't love deeply. From the surface, if you watch me on social, everybody would go do his life is amazing, but the reality is behind the scenes, I was a fucking disaster. And I couldn't figure out why. And it's because you cannot give what you do not have. And if you don't have unconditional love for yourself, how can you unconditionally love your spouse or your kids or your team members or your partnerships? What you realize is that people are watching. And if you are overweight and unhealthy right now, it's your fault. It's your fault. And you're setting a horrible standard for the people around you. If you don't have a connection with God, it's your fault. You're not building that muscle. You're not putting in that work. And you're hiding your pain somewhere. And I want to encourage you to like slow down long enough and maybe go deeper and say, you know what? I am doing yellow light behaviors. I am opening doors I should not fucking open. I am this close away from cheating on my wife. Or I just cheated on my wife. I don't care where you're at in that spectrum. If you're at yellow light or red light, you know in your soul you're out of alignment. You know that your words and your actions do not match. You can hide it from everywhere, from everybody. And you can lie to the world, but you cannot lie when you look in the mirror. And I want to encourage you to stop it right now. Stop the porn, stop the addiction, stop the drugs, stop the vices, stop the womenizing, stop the fucking hiding in work, and go and step back and say, you know what? The best thing I could do for me and everybody around me to be a real leader, to really set a standard, is to go get real help. And I promise you, if you stop everything and you go and do that, it took me about a year going through it all. to come out the other end and realize, like, dude, I am vibrating at such a high frequency right now. No wonder I'm murdering it. No wonder my ex-wife loves me more than ever before, and my kids adore me, and I have better relationships with my partners than I've ever had. I'm making more money than I've ever made in my life, and it's because I'm in alignment.
I love it.
That's the advice I would give.
I want to say thank you, man, because it takes a lot of balls to open up like that and be vulnerable like that. So I appreciate, obviously, you doing that. And just for our viewers out there, whoever's watching this, like what he's saying is 100% true. You know, like sometimes people need to slow down, take a step back, and really realize. I see this a lot in real estate. Like being in real estate, I see a lot where people are public successes, but in private, at certain times they may be a little bit of a mess. So I see it where on the outskirts you may look at somebody like, man, this guy's got everything, but until you take this time to like basically take a step back, sometimes nothing's going to get fixed. So I appreciate you coming on the show. I appreciate you sharing your knowledge. For our viewers out there, if you've enjoyed this interview, make sure to reach out to Cody. In addition, if you've enjoyed it, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and then make sure to share it with some friends, family, neighbors, whoever you think that this interview would be helpful. Thanks, Cody. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you opening up, and appreciate you coming on the show.